Welcome to the Deep Dive,
Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Deep Dive, Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast, presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall, which, RJ, lots of stuff going on with the beer hall. We'll get to the crabs in a second. The crabs of the beer hall. Gotta ask the audience, though, first, if anybody made it out to Queen Anne Beer Hall for Oktoberfest. Because that's a big deal up there.
It is Oktoberfest, and I love any place that can get me thinking about fall, thinking about October, in the dead of August, in this heat wave. Dylan, it's hitting 90. I don't have air conditioning, but the beer hall sure does. And it was on Saturday, Oktoberfest. Get you thinking about Oktoberfest with the beer, all the German food. It's great. The German dress, everything. It's awesome. So that was really cool at the beer hall on Saturday. And then coming up, of course, as we mentioned last week, they have the all-you-can-eat crab on August 20th. So if that is your thing, definitely go to the beer hall on the 20th.
Yep. No, it should be a good one. And then, hey, you gotta enjoy having, nice, like 2 month early Oktoberfest pregame, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And hey, on this podcast, we are definitely itching to get to October, because that also means the Kraken regular season will be back. I miss hockey so much, Dylan.
I know. Here we are, August 14th, celebrating our 100th episode with what we've titled the 100th episode Unspectacular, because we're stuck in the middle of August. There is no news. There's no Kraken hockey. There's no hockey. So it made it very difficult to try to pull together a big, grand 100th episode spectacular, hence the name. But we do have some fun stuff to talk about here, and we're also going to take a little bit of a look down memory lane, going back to our very first episode of this, before it was called the Deep Dive and before anybody was listening. We'll take a look at that, and then of course get to the Deep Dive segment of this week, which was our way too early, and we're going to be looking at who we think the team leaders and all the different individual stat categories are going to be for the Seattle Kraken this upcoming season. But RJ, let's go ahead and kick things off. Let's give the people what they want, and that's to hear about what we have planned for this upcoming season, because we have lots of fun stuff to talk about for that. I guess the first one that's more of a teaser than actually getting into tangible news is just that we have a really, really cool new website coming at some point. It's looking really good. It's getting close. Don't know exactly when we're going to drop it, but we're going to have a brand new website. Lots of fun stuff to go on there. So looking forward to that. And then RJ, you have more content focused stuff that we can talk about.
That's right. And you shouldn't sell the website short, by the way. You have done a lot of great work on that. I've seen the previews of it. That will launch before the season starts. Everyone should go check that out once it does. But as far as content goes, we're going to have some changes coming to the podcast. We're going to do a little bit more like defined segments coming next season. We're going to have like a news and notes type segment. We're going to have our deep dive on a certain topic. So that'll be a little bit more defined than kind of the free flowing that it has been. But I think that's going to be a really good positive change. And also fun things like player interviews. We're going to talk to more members of the media as well. We're going to get more people involved on this podcast. It's really fun with the two of us, you and I, Dylan. And I think everyone does like that. But I think there's a lot of great voices out there in the Kraken world that people want to hear from. So we're going to do some more of that in the coming season. And then also the Patreon will return for October. We're going to have the Red Glare podcast coming back that everyone loves. I was looking at the big deep dive on our graphic right now. We're going to have the Red Glare podcast coming back. We're going to have all the live commentaries like we would do. And the Armchair GM chats are going to be a permanent fixture. People seem to like them enough last year. I certainly love doing them. Even selfishly, I would just want to bring them back. So those Armchair GM chats will be coming back, in addition to a lot of the great stuff that you guys know, like Dylan's prospect chats and all that stuff. So the Patreon will return in the fall. I can't wait. And then also we're going to have some more live events. We'll get the news out to you kind of as soon as we're able to plan all that stuff. It's a lot logistically and trying to figure out when Dylan's coming up, but looking forward to seeing you all in person some more this upcoming season.
Yeah, definitely try to get some variety in on those as well. Really looking forward to those. Any of the trips that I can make up there, always a big deal and a lot of fun for me. Patreon's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait, everybody. You got to get in there for those armchair GM chats so that you can just spam RJ try to make him work out trades to get Sebastian Aho over to the Kraken. Just like last year.
Yes.
Now keep it going.
Still not giving up on that idea, huh, Dylan? Even though we signed the extension. But hey, that's the fun part. You can spam me with the trade request, and I will try and make it work.
Yes.
It's whatever you guys want to talk about. I will try and make it work with the salary cap.
Yep. Go in there, type in chat, RJ, right the wrong. Bring Erik Karlsson to Seattle. There you go. Just for some free ammunition there for everybody.
Thank you, Dylan, for making the armchair GM chat super fun. Yeah, you're the one person. If you put that in the chat, I will not honor it. It has to be somebody in the community.
Yes, no, it's all right. RJ will get me back. He's just going to make me talk about goaltenders and all the prospect chats.
There you go. Find some clips on Semyon Vyazovoy, Dylan. Let's talk about him. Let's do a deep dive on the Russian goalie that we don't know where exactly he is.
Yeah, I will get on that now, and maybe by April I'll have something.
There you go.
But lots of fun stuff for the upcoming season. Again, we're just kind of in the middle of August, so some of a lot of it's not quite ready yet to roll out. This is the month where we're really rolling up our sleeves and dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff. But we did want to mention it for episode 100, alongside a huge thank you to everybody out there in the community for listening to this podcast. Right, we've been able to have the #1 Seattle Kraken podcast, which has been incredible. We're 100 episodes in, which means we've been able to continue to do this, which is even more incredible given where we started, which we'll get to in a little bit. So, just again, want to thank everybody for being a part of it, and want to thank everybody for not just listening, but also all the kind words that they've said. We've got fantastic ratings. If you look over on like Apple Podcast, I think it's a 4.8 out of 5 stars. Incredible. All the amazing kind words that everybody's left there. And then just how great everybody has been with helping us grow. Right, we've been existing in this sports media landscape where sports are making more money than ever, but sports media is seemingly dying all over the place. You got ESPN laying people off, The Athletic laying a bunch of people off. You got print journalism there. There's been a lot of stuff, but then we've been able to be here, you and I, RJ, and we've just been able to watch extreme growth. It's not even like steady growth. It's like been massive growth year over year. Looking forward to continuing that, but it's really been on the backs of everybody else, because you've all done such a great job of talking about us with friends or at Kraken games, telling people about us. So much of how we've been able to grow has just been word of mouth, and that's all because of all of you. So just thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you so much. I love hearing the stories too, of whether it's just somebody who kind of passes me somewhere like, oh, love the podcast, or telling me about how they got their friends into it, or maybe who didn't even watch hockey or like hockey at all, and it's kind of helped them learn and get into the sport. I mean, we absolutely love that. It's just been such a treat to be able to do these 100 episodes for you over a span of more than 2 years. And thinking back to that first episode that we did in March 5th, 2021, which, Dylan, I guess we should have timed it a little bit better. Just looked 100 episodes ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe time it not to go to the middle of August, but that's fine. You take those lessons and everything. But it was not even called the deep dive. No. It was called the Emerald City Hockey Podcast, which was a real mouthful. I'm glad we changed the name on your suggestion at some point along the road there. But I mean, you ready for the topics, Dylan? Do you remember what we talked about on episode 1?
Well, I mean, we briefly talked about it beforehand, so I remember like the big debate section we had at the end, because that was something we felt like we needed to have in a podcast. I'm trying to remember. I mean, you're talking March 5th, so happy birthday, Afra and your mom.
Yep.
So we're talking March 5th, 2021. So the team like barely existed, right? Like they were the Kraken, and that was about it. They had no team. They didn't have a coach. There was no expansion draft, no regular draft. We didn't even know where they would be picking in the amateur draft. So yeah, what did we talk about other than like hockey? Yeah.
All right. So very relevant topic still, and very relevant
Okay,
even today. So
I'm
here
sure.
I'm gonna read you just the title from the podcast. So Emerald City Hockey Podcast, episode 1. Daryl Sutter's back.
Oh my gosh.
Jake Bean's scouting report,
Okay.
and is Patrick Kane the American GOAT?
Okay. What a title of a podcast.
Yep.
What an
So
incredible wow.
the most relevant topics only, clearly at that point. To this day has 203, because it was not on any of the podcast feed. I think it was just on YouTube.
It was just
Has
on YouTube, yeah.
203 views on YouTube. It doesn't need to go any higher. Like, nobody go back and look at that. We were pretty rough at that point. But good to get the practice in. Talking about Daryl Sutter's triumphant return.
Yep.
Jake Bean, who we were sure was going to be a lock to be selected by the Kraken in the expansion draft, and debating some of the best American-born players. I'm sure we made some fantastic arguments.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So we've got a coach who was fired in semi-spectacular fashion this offseason, talking about him being back. We've got Jake Bean, who was like hurt all of last year, and is nowhere close to Seattle. And then we've got talking about whether somebody is the greatest American-born player who is just a free agent that nobody seems in a rush to sign. So yeah, we did a great job, RJ.
Oh yeah, the ECH podcast curse kicked in early.
Yes. Big time stuff there. I'm trying to remember. We were probably fans of Sutter going back to the Flames too, huh?
I certainly was. I couldn't doubt him after his success
No.
everywhere else.
I think
I'm sure nobody go back and look at what I said.
No.
I don't know what it was. I didn't go back and listen to the episode, but nobody go back and look at that. I'll be watching the view count. It better not go over like 204, 205.
Okay. I do remember the debate at the end. It basically came down to Patrick Kane or Brett Hull. I think you took
That's
Hull.
right. I know I was
Kane.
on the Brett Hull side.
Yeah, I took Patrick Kane. Still feel good about that?
Yeah, Brett Hull hasn't done anything to change really his case, and Patrick Kane, I don't know if he's really added to it that much since, so I think it's fine.
He's played for a second team now. He's doing the whole thing. He's moving around. You can't say, oh, he's just been with Chicago forever.
I don't think that was one of my arguments against Kane, was that he played his whole career.
You should have said in 2 years he's gonna get traded at the deadline and try to form a super team in New York and have it flame out spectacularly like Daryl Sutter is going to.
Yeah, and if we were just more experienced podcasters at the time, I'm sure I would have said that and it would have looked great.
Yeah. Shame on you. All right, so that's some good stuff there, I guess. Let's go ahead and start looking at the Seattle Kraken, because thankfully, RJ, we're 100 episodes in and there is a hockey team that we can talk about for Seattle. And that is, of course, the Kraken. We've been doing the way too earlies for this upcoming season, trying to look into the future, like we were just saying we should have all along, and pick out what we think is going to be happening in the 2023-2024 Seattle Kraken season. And today, RJ, we have an exciting one, which is we are going to go through all of the individual stat categories and picking out who we think will be the leader for the Seattle Kraken this upcoming season. For example, just to give everyone an idea of how this is going to work, goals. Who's going to lead the team in goals this year, RJ?
Let me think long and hard about that one. Is he number 16 or 19? We were debating that last season. Yeah, it's going to be Jared McCann.
It's going to be Jared McCann. Yeah, so just like that. It's that easy. We just shout out the name, and we're going to get it 100% right all the way through, I am sure. So there it is. I mean, no need to spend any more time on it. Goal scoring, again, assuming everyone's healthy, knock on wood here, Jared McCann's going to lead this team in goal scoring. I don't think anybody would be surprised. Do you have a dark horse? Like, just because that one is so easy, do we have a dark horse?
I really think it would just take something like an injury. McCann just missing a lot of time for whatever reason, which we obviously don't want to happen. It would take something like that. But if you're looking for a dark horse goal scorer, I don't know. I'm going to go with Oliver Bjorkstrand. I think the shooting percentage might be able to rebound. If you look at last season's number, there was a whole bunch of players just clustered in that 20 to 24 goal range. I
Yep.
think he's got the most potential to kind of pop above that field. And then if something should happen to McCann, maybe he could be the leader.
Yeah. Otherwise, I got to think, another year with a whole full season under his belt, Matty Beniers, maybe. I could at least see him getting close to 30. I don't know that he could get all the way to 40 in, kind of his year two, but I do think Matty Beniers is going to be up there and probably second on the team anyway. So we'll go with Matty Beniers there. Now, sticking with kind of the traditional counting stats here for scoring, RJ, next up would be assists. Now, last year, Vince Dunn led this club in assists with 50, Jordan Eberle with 43, and then Yanni Gordon third place with 34. Who do you think is going to lead the Seattle Kraken in assists next season, RJ?
I'm going to go with Matty Beniers. And we
Ooh.
picked him actually to lead the team in assists. Both of us picked him last year. We were a little bit off the mark.
Yeah.
With him finishing fourth, and Vince Dunn, we didn't fully see coming. Although I picked him as my dark horse to maybe lead the team in assists.
All right, good for you.
But still, yeah. Feeling good about that one. But I think Matty Beniers will take that next step. He had some stretches this past season where he just wasn't producing points. He was still playing pretty well, as we talked about, doing all the things defensively and away from the puck. But I think the points production is just going to go up. I think the goals might stay level. I don't know the goals are going to raise a whole lot because that shooting percentage was pretty high last season, but I could see it being made up for in assists, and especially if you can get it going on the power play.
Yeah, so I like that one. I think Matty Beniers definitely has a chance. I said last week I think he's going to be more involved on the power play, and I think that'll help because he did kind of fall behind most of the field of those top assist guys when it came to power play assists. So that would help him catch someone like a Vince Dunn. We've talked about Vince Dunn, most likely regressing a little bit anyway, just because of how incredible his season was last year. I'm going to actually go with somebody though. Who's a little bit further down if you sort by assists, but that's because he didn't play all the games. And that's Andre Burakovsky, RJ. Because you know what? He had 26 assists in 49 games. He had 10 power play assists, which was only 5 off of Vince Dunn, playing, close to twice as many games last year. I think Andre Burakovsky was a big part of their power play early on last season. I think as the power play continues to hopefully improve, he'll continue to be. And I think he's gonna bounce back from the injury and everything and have a really good scoring season. So I'm going with Andre Burakovsky. All
right, that's an interesting pick, and I do think he has a chance to to perform certainly better than those numbers because he didn't play a whole lot of games, and he could be a sneaky pick for really any of these categories too. I mean, even you look at goals, we know his finishing ability, right?
Yep.
So he could potentially do that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about him maybe a little bit when it comes to point totals too, because I thought about him there. But I think assists is where he can make his mark, and a lot of that is down to the power play and how effective he is distributing on it. All right, so point totals now. We McCann lead the team in goals. He always adds a decent amount of assists. We think Matty Beniers for you, Burakovsky for me. Who's going to be able to put it all together, RJ, and lead the team in point scoring?
I'm going to go with Matty Beniers. I think this is the year that he really steps up and takes that points crown. I know we were talking about it last season as maybe he had a chance to do that. I think we were a little bit early on that, but this season I'm going to take the upside with Matty Beniers going for the points lead.
I like that, right? I mean, I could see Matty finishing second in goals. Like I said, he could get up to around 30. I think he could finish second in assists. And he could have 40 plus assists, especially if he gets going on the power play. So yeah, why shouldn't he be up there for point totals if he's going to do that well in both categories? I like that. I agree with you. I think Matty Beniers is the most likely candidate to lead this team in points. I think Jared McCann, is going to be up there again. He led the team in points last year with 70. He was able to add the 30 assists to go with the 40 goals. I think the goal scoring is going to regress a little bit for him just because I doubt he's going to shoot 19% again. That would be, hey, go out there and do it, bud, if you can. But I think that's going to leave the door open a little bit there for Matty Beniers to take the point scoring lead and kind of, reach that level of, being the definitive franchise player that we've all kind of expected him to be. And he's given us no reason not to continue to think that way.
Right. Now, any dark horse candidate for point scoring leader? There's a few different options, really. I
There
mean, it was
is.
kind of a close race. You look at even Burakovsky too, just given his pace, he would be
Mhm.
right up there as well. Who are you thinking?
I think Burakovsky is definitely one to consider for that. Again, he had 39 points in 49 games, involved on the power play. I think he's definitely somebody who can be up there. Really, whoever's going to be playing around Jared McCann and Matty Beniers, like if they stay playing together, whoever's on that other side, whether it continues to be a Jordan Eberle or if it ends up being, maybe a Ty Cartier or something like that, who ends up there with them, or a Burakovsky. I think that becomes the place. Certainly if it's Burakovsky, could you imagine that line, RJ? Beniers, McCann, and
Yeah, I mean,
Burakovsky?
they tried it a little bit last season, couldn't quite get it to click, but I think we saw the benefits last year of certain guys having a whole off season together.
Yes.
That jump that they made from their first season to their second, I think for guys that you brought in the past off season, like a Burakovsky, like a Bjorkstrand, you're going to have that full off season and training camp together for the first time with those guys. And I think you could see jumps from them. So it wouldn't surprise me if Burakovsky was able to find more of a permanent home on a line, whether it's that one or a different line. But I'm going to go with Jordan Eberle. And you've talked about, well, who's going to spend the most time with Beniers and McCann? Well, so far it's been Eberle, and so far it's worked. The chemistry has been really good there. I just don't see a reason to take Eberle away from Beniers. The two of them just work so well together. And so, if you have McCann maybe experiencing a dip in scoring a little bit because of that shooting percentage, and Vince Dunn experiencing some regression, I think Eberle's kind of the next man up.
Yeah, 63 points
If it's
last year.
not Beniers.
Yes, definitely. 63 points last year for Jordan Eberle in the 82 games, 43 assists. I mean, it was kind of an incredible season for him. Somebody that, at least me, because I've been around so long, right? I always think of him as more of a goal scorer. But to put up the 43 assists, I mean, that was a career high for him last year. He's changing his game as he gets older, like all great players do. And he really kind of settled into that more distributor role. I like that from Jordan Eberle. All right, the next one, as we're here on Hockey Reference, which, by the way, RJ, when does Hockey Reference turn over towards next season? They wait a long time, huh? Because, you still go to Hockey Reference, it's still all last year on there.
Well, no, I think they already have, because they have next year's Kraken page. Whenever I search just Kraken on Hockey Reference, it takes me to 2023-24.
Oh, really? Because I just go to the homepage. It's got the standings from last year. You click on Seattle, it takes you to last year's page.
No, that's probably the way to do it instead of just Googling Kraken Hockey Reference every single time. All right, so good job there. I think you're doing it a better way than I am.
Slightly more efficient. All right, that's okay, though. They've got the page for next year. You are right about that. Okay, plus minus. I don't think we did it last year because, it's a crapshoot. I guess, look, if you think the team's going to do well. We don't like it as a
stat.
Yeah,
we took a stand. We're not even going to dignify this by picking.
I was going to say, if you think the team's going to do well, then basically you can just kind of pick the person with the most ice time and say that they'll probably lead in plus minus. And hey, look at that. Last year, that was true. Okay, moving forward. Penalty minutes, RJ. Now, the Kraken are a team that they can have discipline issues at times, but mostly it's just they can't remember how to stop counting at 5, much like you picking over-unders for the team.
You got me there. I loved whoever in the comments, by the way, was saying, over under 5.5 team-based over-unders for RJ next year. That was a great comment. We got a chuckle out of that one.
It was a good one from Edward there, yes. Penalty minutes, RJ. Who's going to be that person having to serve time in the box for when the Kraken have their numerous too many men penalties this year?
I know, right? I don't think the penalty minutes are actually attributed to the person serving the penalty for that one. So that's a wash. So we're going to have to look elsewhere. And this is an interesting question, too, because the results, if you want to look at past performance, are kind of scattered. Because year one, the leader was Jeremy Lauzon. And so we knew picking for year two that wasn't going to happen because he was off in Nashville, thankfully. And so this year, we weren't really sure. I think I picked Adam Larson. Thinking just, okay, it's a counting cumulative stat, most ice time. He plays defense. It's hard to take penalties. I was very wrong on that. He finished 5th. Yanni Gourde was actually the penalty minutes leader last season by quite a bit, actually. Carson Soucy, number 2. So we know he won't factor in next season.
Yep.
It's tough to pick. I feel like Yanni probably won't get into it that much to get 76 penalty minutes again. I could be wrong. I'm going to go with Jamie Alexiak. who led the team in fights. I could see him, continue to do that again. And yeah, it's a tough assignment, right? When he's playing that defensive role, having to kind of shut down people, and on that deep pair with Will Borgen too, where sometimes there's miscommunications and such that might lead to a penalty. I think Alexiak will probably take the crown. I just don't think it'll be the same person. It's been different people year 1 to year 2. I think we're going to have to take someone else. Not Gordon, certainly not Lausanne.
Well, yes. Gosh, definitely hope so. You don't think Yanni Gordon could do that? Pepper Pot getting in there, causing all that ruckus, net front, all that kind of stuff.
I think he could.
Or on the hard back checking, playing the two-way game, right? He's got to chase somebody down, gets a stick up in the hand.
He usually does that pretty cleanly, though. I think you look at those penalties. I don't know. I think a lot of it is the Pepper Pot type of penalties. And I think with the Kraken knowing that they're a playoff team this year, and that maybe, every regular season game isn't as do or die, you maybe don't need Yanni to be the Pepper Pot as often, at least in the way that's going to earn him penalty minutes. Yeah. So I think you will see that come down a little bit. Because remember, last season, the playoffs were far from assured. Every regular season game felt like it meant so much. And so he was playoff Yanni more often in the regular season than maybe he would be in the past. I think you see that with this being a career high for him in penalty minutes. I mean, his previous high was 10 penalty minutes less at 66 at Tampa and 18-19 as he was kind of in his second season, really, being a full-timer in the NHL. So I think that number is going to come down.
All right. I understand that. And I think Alexiak's a good, solid pick. Again, the fights, give him a safer floor than a lot of other guys. I'm actually going to go with Vince Dunn, though. I think, he signed the big extension. Everybody knows who he is. He's going to, we'll get to ice time in a second. But I think Vince Dunn's going to be out there a lot. We know, he can be a little bit of a hothead. He's generally pretty good, though, about controlling it, getting upset without it spilling over into chaos or anything like that. I just think it's going to be, this year, I think the team's going to be fairly disciplined, and it just might be a simple equivalency of whoever's out there the most just ends up with the most. It'll just be purely counting stat stuff. I agree with you. I think defensemen are slightly more likely to take a penalty just because of the nature of the position. And I think nobody's going to see more ice time than Vince Dunn. So I just think Vince Dunn's going to take it.
All right. I mean, that's a fair pick, going over on the Dundertaker, thinking that he's going to be the Dundertaker a few more times than he was maybe last season. He's always been in that conversation penalty minutes wise, right? I mean, I think last season he finished fourth in the Kraken's inaugural season. He finished second behind only Lausanne. So, he's been up there. I
this is the year he takes the crown, RJ.
Quite possibly. Hopefully that's more, maybe fight based and less, just 2-minute minor, tripping, all that kind of stuff based.
Yes. Did we do this one last year? Game-winning goals?
I don't remember doing it last year. We might have, but we probably should do it this year.
I think it's something we should do. Yeah. I think, did we do power play and shorthanded goals? I think we did shorthanded goals. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so let's start with those first. Power play and shorthanded goals, RJ. Power play goals. Jared McCann.
Yep, Jared McCann. I don't think we need to discuss that further.
Yep. Dark horse Maddie. I think he's going to be involved on the power play. There we go.
Yep, I do agree with you there. If anyone else, maybe Bjorkstrand, if they actually use the bumper spot at some point.
Yeah, or Berkey, right?
Yep.
I don't know. Shorthanded goals. Now this one Jared McCann took last year, and it kind of wasn't close. 3 for him, and then 3 for the rest of the team combined. Do you think Jared McCann repeats that, RJ, or do you think somebody else is able to sneak in there and maybe get some more shorthanded goals? Maybe Adam Larson builds off the one he had this year and gets some more.
Mm-hmm. It was a spectacular shorthanded goal for Adam Larson. I'd love to see him build off of that. I don't know that he's going to get enough for the team lead. But I think given the nature of a stat like this, it's going to be someone different. It seems that it's someone different every year. I think their inaugural season, it was Gio with 2, or he might have been tied for the lead. Yeah. So that shows you never know who it's going to be. I'm going to go with Yanni. He was one of the players with a shorthanded goal last season. I think you'll find a little bit more finish on the, quote unquote power kill this coming season. It's with a stat like this, you have to just go with, who are you feeling lucky about? I'll go Yanni Gord.
I was going to say, and that's where, McCann is he's obviously the best sniper on the team. He does play out there on the penalty kill, so it makes sense that he'd be up there. But there's someone, RJ, who gets so many breakaways on these power kills, who is so active out there.
Oh, you are going to
really
go there.
who really gets out there, and I think this is the year that the luck kind of tips in his favor a little bit more, and that is, of course, Brandon Tanev, who I think is going to be able to lead the team in shorthanded goals. Might not be with a bunch, right? It might be only with 2 or 3. But I think Brandon Tanev this year is going to find a way to bury, he's going to be able to get the breakaway percentage up to, maybe like 15%, which means it'll be a couple of goals in there.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, 15% might be a little generous, but good. I love the optimism from you there, Dylan.
Yeah, just trying. Come on, everybody would be thrilled, right? Like, imagine CPA, Brandon Tanev breakaway on a penalty kill. He buries it. Like, place will go nuts. One of the loudest things that can happen in a regular season, I bet. All right, game winners, RJ. Now, last year the Kraken had a 3-way tie for the top spot. Matty Beniers, Jordan Eberle, and Justin Schultz, all with the team leading 4 game-winning goals, and then like 100 people, it seems like, with 3. 7 if we're being specific, but 7 players with 3 game-winning goals last year behind those leaders. So RJ, this year, 1, is somebody going to be able to singularly lead the team in game-winning goals? And 2, who do you think that person could be?
I don't think there's going to be a singular leader in game-winning goals. It's too tough of a stat to really break away from the pack, especially on a team built like the Kraken. Look, there are no superstars on this team that are carrying the way. We love that about this team, but I think you're going to see that again this year. So I think there will be some kind of tie, which, hey, just gives us more of a chance of being right in picking this. There was a 3-way tie in their inaugural season between Yanni Gourde, Adam Larson, and Brandon Tanev. Playing only 30 games for Brandon Tanev and still getting 3 game winners in the inaugural season. So there's always some surprises with this stat. And I'm going to go with a player who I just can remember off the top of my head, kind of scoring a clutch game winner in overtime last season. And who was one of those guys with 3 last season. That's Andre Burakovsky. I think he's just got that clutch ability about him. He steps up in those big moments, and because he'll play more games, we'll see it a lot more.
I really like that pick from you. He was who I was going to pick, although I think there is another name that could potentially do it as well. Someone who played even less games than Burakovsky, but also had 3 game winners last year, and that's Eeli Tolvanen. So a full season of Eeli Tolvanen in the lineup, if he can get some of those power play goals of his, or just in general working with Yanni Gourde and Bjorkstrand, if we think that line takes a step forward with Bjorkstrand and all that kind of stuff, I could see Eeli Tolvanen certainly building off of the 3 he had in the 48 games, and with a full 82 under his belt, I think he could certainly get up to 4 or maybe 5.
Yeah, I think that's not out of the question. He's got that shot. He's had some get 3 game winners in 48 games last season. That's pretty good. I do find out neither of us are taking Jared McCann. We didn't even talk about him.
Yeah, well, because he had 3 with everybody else. And, the bottom line is Jared McCann, he's really good. How many goals was he scoring in the first period? A lot of them, right? Whereas you look at Eeli Tolvanen, what's his shot? It's a slap shot, right? When does slap shot tend to go in? Later in a game, because the goalie's a little bit more tired, maybe less on it, right? Defense is a little bit more tired. Maybe that helps him out a little bit. I'm mostly just saying this, but it makes sense. So I just think him, and then certainly with Berkey. Berkey was the guy that I remember too, right? Like, he was the kind of clutch guy late in the game. You can send it over his way, and he'd be able to find a way to squeak it through. But I think both those guys could be up there at the top.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
All right. What should we do next? I don't exactly remember the order from last year. Did we use shots or shooting percentage?
Yeah, let's go into shots and shooting percentage. Let's let Hockey Reference be our guide as we go left to right here on this page.
Yes, there we go. So look, I don't see a reason why Jared McCann wouldn't lead the team in shots. This is a team, we've talked about it many times. They don't have a volume shooter. There is no Alex Ovechkin or Brent Burns on this team that's going to take 400 shots a season. That's just not how any of these guys roll. That being said, Jared McCann and Oliver Bjorkstrand are the 2 guys that come closest to that. I gotta think it'll be one of them.
Right, it's a two-man race here for most shots on the team, really, unless something happens to, I guess, both of them where they're not playing the full complement of games. Yeah, you mentioned it. Nobody else on this team is really a volume shooter. I don't see anybody else, becoming a volume shooter at this point. I mean, Burakovsky was kind of in that conversation, but still, his pace really wasn't enough to get him
Hmm.
up to McCann and Bjorkstrand levels. I'm gonna pick Bjorkstrand though.
Okay.
I think his ice time approaches. Yeah, I think his ice time gets a little bit higher. It might not be what Jared McCann's is, but he's more of a volume shooter, based on the opportunities that he gets than Jared McCann is. I think Jared McCann is actually a fairly selective shooter, given that he's the 40 goal scorer type. I think Bjorkstrand's going to come ahead in the numbers game.
I 100% understand where you're coming from, and I totally see the logic in that. Especially because there was a large section of last year when Bjorkstrand wasn't scoring that he did kind of stop shooting as much because he was focused then on distributing and trying to help out the team. He's like, well, if I can't score, I'm going to at least help out the team in some other way. Here's the thing, though, RJ. You know what's better than scoring 40 goals in a season?
Scoring 41 goals in a season?
Scoring 40 goals in a season again. All right. I think
Hmm.
Jared McCann has tasted that. He's tasted the 40 goals. He's going to want to make it happen again. I think we're going to see a larger uptick in shots from Jared McCann as he tries to equal or best his mark from last year and get the respect he deserves around the league. So while I agree in normal circumstances, Bjorkstrand makes a lot of sense. The fact that, if Jared McCann had 39 goals last year, I'd be with you, RJ. But he got 40. He reached that promised land. He's going to come back out and he's going to be getting 5 or 6 shots a game.
All right, we'll see who's right.
Shooting percentage. This one's hard. I don't know that we can entirely do it. It's a little all over the place.
Right. I mean, is there going to be a games played minimum here? Because you look at the shooting percentage from the Kraken
Shane
last
Wright.
season, technically,
Yes.
and Shane Wright is the leader, actually, with 1 goal on 4 shots for a 25% shooting percentage. John Hayden, number 2, with 2 goals on 9 shots, impressive 22.2% shooting percentage. You get into the players who actually played close to the full complement of games, and Jared McCann, the leader, with a 19 shooting percentage. And we know how talented he is. We know how great that shot is. But you think maybe that number's a little bit too high to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Do you have a feeling here? I mean, what's your thought process in just picking someone?
I think every year you got to look at the people who had kind of a normal shooting percentage the previous season and then just go, who can get lucky next year? All right. And I think the playoffs provided us with that answer. I think the playoffs last season showed us somebody who might be getting a little bit more aggressive, who might be finding some confidence with their shot. And I'm, of course, talking about Alexander Wenberg. Now, is he going to lead the team in goals? No, I don't think so. Is he going to be a big volume shooter? No, I don't think so. But dude was
That's an understatement.
Yes, it is.
Is Alex Wenberg going to be a big volume shooter, Dylan? What do you think?
No, absolutely not. But here's the thing. He had 13 goals last season. Based on his playoff performance, he was able to bury some. He showed he has a good shot. He has a good feel for it. When he decides to take shots, he actually does really, really well with them. And he shot at just under 13% last year at 12.9. I think if he just decides to shoot a little bit more, he's really good at choosing his spots. I think he could start pushing for a 20-goal season. And if he does that, that shooting percentage is going to be in that like 17-18% range.
Interesting. I mean, that's a really fascinating pick. I like that just because of how interesting it is. I don't think you'll be right, but I like the pick. I'm going to go kind of the opposite side of that, maybe the least interesting pick. I think it's going to be Jared McCann. I don't think it'll be as high as 19, but I have stopped wondering when that shooting percentage is going to come down. It seems to be like we talked about this during the season, right? Like it's regressing into the cloud. Like it should be regressing to the mean. Maybe the mean is just higher and higher. Who knows? Maybe it'll regress to 20. I don't know, but I think just given the shooting talent, he's not really a volume shooter where it's going to bring that percentage down. I still think he's going to lead the team. There's just so much talent there.
There is for sure, but yeah, I mean we'll find out. I would love if he repeated it, right? Let's go ahead and get it to 20. Why not?
If Wenberg is even if Jared McCann leads the team in shooting percentage, if Wenberg is in the top 3, I'll give you the win on this.
Okay, I totally accept
just
that.
To even out the odds there.
Let's go, Winnie. Let's go. All right, so average time on ice. RJ, tell me why next year's leader in average time on ice for the Kraken won't be Martin Jones.
Ah, yes. Well, there's this team called the Toronto Maple Leafs,
Oh,
and they
is
make
there?
decisions
I've
sometimes.
never heard of them
And
before.
yep, I know we definitely do not hear about them at all
Maybe,
in the hockey media, but this team exists,
yeah.
and they signed Martin Jones to a contract, so he will probably be playing some games for them, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But that means he will not be playing games for the Kraken, most likely this coming season.
No.
But we're gonna go look at skater average
Yeah.
time on
Yes,
ice. I think
definitely.
that's probably the better way to do this. Vince Dunn was the leader last season, but
Mm-hmm.
man, it was a neck and neck race.
Yeah, it was.
He averaged 23.40. Adam Larson, his D partner, 23.38. Kind of shows how attached to the hip they were for pretty much all of the season. Dylan, is there any chance that it's not Vince Dunn or Adam Larson?
No, because I mean they're just gonna get the most 5-on-5 ice time, and it probably won't even be close, right? We're talking maybe 6 minutes more than anybody else. Like, I don't know. Assuming Hacksaw doesn't decide to go with his forward lines to a more traditional, top line gets 20 minutes a night kind of situation. If he sticks with the way he did things last year, where like the top three lines kind of all get the same, it's not even going to be close. It'll be those two guys. And then the question comes down to special teams time for them, right? Adam Larson is going to be out there for a minute 20 of just about every penalty kill that the Kraken have, it seems like. Whereas Vince Dunn might not get as much PK time, but he gets the benefit of being on that second unit power play to help out there. And Larson, probably going to get under a minute of power play time next season. So that one certainly helps for Vince Dunn. I think they're going to want to try to work Vince Dunn more in on the power play. So I got to think Vince Dunn is going to continue. Just the fact that he gets second unit PK and he might start getting more first unit power play. I think that'll get him up closer to the 24-minute mark, while Larson is going to hang around that 23-30.
All right. I was hoping you might go with Adam Larson because I was feeling the same way as you with Vince Dunn. I think they're really going to try and get something to click on the power play. He's going to get that extra little bit of time. I mean, the other way I could see it going, I guess, is if the Kraken continue to be really good and defend a lot of leads late in games, that maybe you have Larson out there without Dunn. I know that Larson-Alexiak pair kind of becomes a thing when you're defending a lead late, but especially with the new contract for Vince Dunn, you're gonna play him as much as you can. You're gonna see what he's got. The team believes in him. I think it's gonna be Vince Dunn again this year.
Yeah, you don't play a defenseman like that not to then have him be your time on ice leader. Like, that's just not how it's done. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the other thing is, look, hey, Vince Dunn missed one game last year because he was pulled. They knew they were going to the playoffs. They healthy scratched him and wanted to make sure he stayed healthy for the playoff run. Maybe that happens again next year, in which case that also can help, because then, you don't get you're not in there in a game late in the season. You kind of know maybe where you're already seated for the playoffs. And so they play you a little less. They just take you out entirely, and it doesn't affect your time on ice.
Exactly. And you kind of saw that effect last season too. Vince Dunn playing one fewer game than Adam Larson. Larson was the actual time on ice leader among Kraken skaters, but Dunn still took the average crown by 2 seconds.
Yep. Exactly. There's not even a dark horse outside of those guys, in my opinion. It's going to be one of them for sure. All right. Blocked shots, RJ. Who is going to be the guy out there just eating pucks for the Seattle Kraken? I don't know. This is kind of like goal scoring with Jared McCann. It'll be Adam Larson.
Yeah, this one feels too easy. He's been the team block shots leader each of their first two seasons, and it hasn't been particularly close either year. So Adam Larson, for sure, is going to be the block shot leader, assuming he can stay somewhat healthy, which he's done a pretty good job of over these last two seasons. It's going to be Adam Larson. I mean, there's no real dark horse candidate even, I think, to lead the team. I mean, is there anyone that maybe would block a surprising amount of shots that we might look at in the top 5 or so that we wouldn't expect?
No, right? You look at the next one. First off, it's about a 60 blocked shot drop off from Adam Larson to number 2 with Jamie Alexiak. So that's a lot of blocked shots. You're talking about almost one a game. Alexiak was there. Carson Soucy was in third. He's no longer there. Will Borgen in fourth. Vince Dunn at five. Maybe it's Brian Dumoulin if he just decides to focus on defense. He starts throwing his body in front of everything. Maybe, I guess. But I just got to think this is going to be Adam Larson. And hey, this is a straight counting stat. We just talked about Larson and Vince Dunn are going to be the guys out there the most. We talked about how much he's out there on the PK, especially. That is part of this, is that he gets the most opportunity to block shots, so he blocks the most shots.
Yeah, that's basically how it works. And I mean, you did mention Dumoulin. I'm glad you did, because I mean, he might be the dark horse guy if there was one. Blocked 142 shots in Pittsburgh last year, a similar number the year before. So that would put him, at least 30 behind range. Larson, in range at least. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Dumoulin up there in the top three.
Yeah, so block shots is kind of a foregone conclusion. Hits, though, very much not the case. This is one, there's a lot of close stuff. I already know who you're going to say, RJ. Before we even get there, tell everybody why Will Borgen is going to lead the team in hits this year.
He's a monster, Dylan. Come on. I mean, of course he's going to lead the team in hits. The way he can throw the body around. I mean, if they count it for hits when he's able to kind of wrestling slam someone to the ground, I think they count that for a hit. But yeah, I mean, he was right there in range of Adam Larson last season. I think he's only going to get more ice time. He averaged 16-22 last season. I think the team sees enough in him to give him the opportunity to take that next step. He'll probably be playing some top 4 minutes like he was toward the end of last season. They haven't really brought anyone else on that right D side to compete with him. That number's only going to go up. Will Borgen's going to lead the team in hits. Tell me why he won't, Dylan.
Because they really want Dumoulin and Schultz to play together as the second pairing, and so Will Borgen just somehow doesn't get as much ice time. Like, that's what it would take, right? Like, I'm not going to
make an argument for why Larson will, or why Larson's going to overtake him.
The argument,
he was the leader last season.
I was going to say the argument for Larson is just he's going to get the most ice time even still over Will Borgen, so he just gets the most opportunity. I actually think somebody like a Brandon Tanev, last year 190, again, we're talking 13 less than Will Borgen had. He was third on the team, and I think there was probably elements early on in the season we talked about maybe him playing a little bit more cautiously, regaining confidence in his leg after the ACL tear and stuff. If he doesn't kind of have that start to a season, maybe Brandon Tanev could lead this team in hits, right? He's going to get the PK time. He's going to be able to be out there. We know his roster spot is pretty safe as long as he doesn't kind of get buried on a fourth line and then get 9 minutes a night. I don't see why Brandon Tanev can't go out there and really rack up the hits. I mean, we'd have to do math at a level higher than anything I can do. But looking at the numbers, I think Brandon Tanev might have led the team in hits per minute kind of thing, hits per 60 here. So if not, he must have been close based on the numbers. So I think there's an off chance that it might be a forward, and that forward would be Brandon Tanev.
All right. I mean, Tanev was certainly in range and certainly out of the top 5 or so hits for 60, just doing some rough math in my head. You're absolutely right about him having the higher rate of hits. And, if his ice time goes up at all from the 14-13 that he averaged last season, he could do that. And look, we know what we're getting from Brandon Tanev. He's going to go out there and hit everything in sight. And, especially kind of more visible hits, maybe not along the corners and the walls. I do trust the off-ice officials to track every hit as it should be, I guess. But there's some variance there in different buildings and everything too, where there's hits that are obvious that get tracked like, oh yeah, that's a hit, versus others like, you have to go back and look, was that a hit? Was that just kind of like a rub out on the boards? Tanev usually leaves no question.
Yeah, exactly. So I like Brandon Tanev, but I think Will Borgen and Adam Larson, like it is those three guys. It's got to be those three guys.
Pretty much.
Some combination there. And then finally here for skaters, for like these more traditional stats, RJ, face-off win percentage. The last couple of years, it's been a battle for, again, throwing out the people who only take a handful of faceoffs. It was, a real battle between Yanni Gordon and Morgan Geekie through years 1 and 2. Geekie took year 1, Yanni Gordon took year 2. But Morgan Geekie's gone now, RJ. So is anybody going to be able to challenge Yanni Gordon at the top of the faceoff win leaders like Morgan Geekie was able to these last couple seasons?
Yes, and it's the guy that they brought in for that specific purpose. That's Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. He's basically the Morgan Geekie replacement as a face-off taker on the fourth line. He's got great career numbers, better than anything the Kraken put up last season. I think he can pretty much reliably do. You know, I think he's going to be the faceoff leader. You can tell me whether you agree or disagree. But my dark horse candidate for faceoff percentage leader is somebody who's, I can't even give you a name, somebody who's not on the team yet.
Oh,
Whoever they trade for at the deadline, to maybe help with that issue. I think you could actually see the team leader in faceoff percentage be somebody who's not on the team yet. That's my dark horse pick.
yes, we have talked about this. We talked about this a little bit previously. Yeah, I think I totally understand that one. I think there's a chance for that. I think it's going to depend on the Shane Wright situation, if he's going to be around, as to how many faceoffs Bellemare gets and what the lineup ends up looking like. But I like that. I still think Yanni Gourde. I think Yanni Gourde, this is the year, RJ. This is the year he gets over 50%. For, again, he had that a couple years ago in Tampa for 2 years in a row. Hasn't had it since. I think this next season is the year that things click and he's able to get back up over 50%. And I think Yanni Gourde is going to be that guy for the Kraken. Especially now, he's had the taste of the playoffs again. He knows all that important stuff. He's going to go out there and he's going to eat people like Jack Eichel alive, RJ.
Okay. Maybe he might do that. I'm looking at Yanni Gourde's career best seasons, and that's a down year for Pierre-Edouard Bellemare and the Dot. But I like the faith that you have in him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm kind of saying Bellemare might not get to the requisite number of faceoffs.
Okay,
depending,
so, I
right?
think Yanni will win more faceoffs for sure.
Yes,
but looking at percentage, I think Bellemare's going to be the leader.
Bellemare with the season at 60%. Jeez. Okay. Do we want to do advanced stats for skaters, or are we moving on to goalies? I mean, there's not really, who's going to lead the team in offensive zone start percentage, RJ?
Do we need to go into the weeds on this one? I mean,
it's Shane Wright, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
probably.
There we go.
I mean, aside from some, rookie who maybe gets a call up for a couple games, whether it's a Colin or someone like that getting called up. I don't know that one's worth diving into too deep.
You mean we're not going to get into takeaways, Archie?
Alex Wenberg, I haven't even checked the takeaway stats from last year, but it has to be Wenberg.
Yes, it was 19 more than second place Yanni Gourde for Wenberg there.
Yeah, so. and seeing how his face just lit up when I asked him about it too, that he takes pride in that. He's going to be the team leader in takeaways again.
Right, and he's going to do a bunch in the offensive zone, and then he's going to turn around and shoot the puck. It's going to be great. I'll lead the team in shooting percentage. You're just feeding my argument, RJ.
Yes.
Yeah, and then giveaways is one of those. Whoever handles the puck the most always leads in it. Vince Dunn last year, probably the same thing. Again, he's out there the most and he's handling the puck the most. Why wouldn't he? All right, then goaltenders, RJ. So now things get interesting here because I believe you have some info on what we decided to do last year when it came to goaltenders.
That's right. So I went back and looked at last year's picks, and we didn't even really talk about it. We gave it the Jared McCann goal treatment. Yeah. We figured, okay, this season it's easy, especially with Drieger missing a good chunk of the season and Martin Jones coming as the backup. Like, all right, Philip Grubauer, he's going to lead in every category. He's going to lead in wins, goals against average, save percentage. There's no point even talking about it. Grubauer will lead the team in all of those things. And actually, we were surprisingly wrong on that front. Martin Jones, the team leader in wins. Joey Decord, the team leader in save percentage. And Grubauer, the team leader in goals against average. So you have it kind of split between the three goalies there. We certainly did not see that coming with Martin Jones starting more games than Philip Grubauer. Injury, of course, playing a big role in that. But Jones really stepping up as the backup. So I think that's a lesson for us. I think we can't take anything for granted with goaltending. That's something we should have probably known already, that's just how it works in hockey. You certainly can't take anything for granted goaltending wise, and especially this season for the Kraken too. Look, we know Philip Grubauer, if he's healthy, will get the big bulk of the games, right? He's going to start the majority of them. But you can't guarantee that. And we don't even know who the backup's going to be. Chris Drieger and Joey Decord will battle it out during training camp and during the preseason for that backup spot. So there's really three names we could go with for any of these categories. And I think it's worthwhile picking the leaders and maybe thinking about a dark horse candidate.
Definitely. So let's All right, I was gonna say let's go with the easy one and go with wins again, but like that wasn't the easy one last year. Again, we're working under the assumption everybody's healthy. RJ, as I knock more on wood. Thank you, Afra, for not barking. Um, Grubauer, right? He's just going to get the most starts, right? The battle here for goaltenders is really to be the backup to Grubauer. I don't see that changing really. So and given Grubauer the way he came back last season from the injury, the way he played in the playoffs, Grubauer is going to have a very long leash at least to start the season. I got to think that just based purely upon the opportunities, Philip Grubauer is going to lead the team in wins.
Yeah, the only way to say otherwise is to predict an injury, which
Yeah.
I don't think we really want to do. So yeah, Grubauer for wins for sure.
All right. Now, save percentage, RJ. Going left to right here on Hockey Reference. That one's interesting. Okay? We've talked about Philip Grubauer. We talked about this last week with the over-under on the save percentage, right? I'm pretty optimistic. I think, he's going to kind of regress up to where he's been his whole career prior to joining the Kraken. I still think Philip Grubauer is going to really bounce back save percentage wise this year and be able to get up over the average save percentage for an NHL goaltender this next upcoming season. And I think that is going to carry him to the highest save percentage.
All right. I like your optimism there. As with the over-unders, I'm going to make a different pick. I'm going to pick Joey Decord to repeat, as odd as that sounds, to repeat as the Kraken save percentage leader, albeit with a larger sample size this upcoming season. I think he's probably going to win the backup job. If I had to just pick it right now, I think it's still a wide open backup race right now, but I think Decord will end up winning that race. And I think he will start, I don't know, how many games are we thinking? 20, 25 games?
Yeah,
not a whole lot.
There.
But in that sample size, I think he can have a higher save percentage than Philip Grubauer. I think it's going to be, I don't want to say completely random, but just given how this team is defensively, I talked about it in the over-unders, where goalie numbers are just going to look worse than they actually play. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to bring all goalies, whether it's 2, 3, however many play for the Kraken, it's going to bring them kind of closer to a similar number. And I think Decord will edge out just a little bit ahead of Grubauer.
I do like that, especially like that, save percentage being one of those ones where sometimes, the person playing the fewer games can kind of protect it a little bit easier. Can't always say the same thing about goals against average, RJ, just because it does require those 60 minutes played and the minutes to pile up to kind of help you out if you do have a bad game or two. I'm just repeating from last year, but I'm going with the clean sweep for Philip Grubauer, RJ. I just think because he's going to get the most minutes, he'll be able to kind of even things out, get that average as low as possible. I'm going with Philip Grubauer for GAA.
It's a solid pick. I'm kind of tempted to pick Chris Drieger in 3 or 4 games that he might get. Because I think the team might be really motivated to play in front of him and just kind of have low scoring games. And yeah, go ahead.
You think so? You don't think his style kind of leads to, leaving himself open to one of those more like 4 or 5 goals against kind of games?
It does. It really does. And I suppose if he plays well enough and the goals against average is low enough, and the team's playing well in front of him, that maybe he'll get enough games that it'll kind of even out. So, I'll back off of this pick. You've talked me out of it. I'll go Grubauer for goals against average.
All right. I didn't mean to. I was just throwing that out there. I could see Drieger being that sneaky dark horse for save percentage, though.
Yeah.
Especially when he gets all kind of floppy in the crease there and he just makes like 4 or 5 like subsequent saves on like all the rebounds. Those help.
Yeah. I could see. And wasn't he this team save percentage leader in their inaugural season? Yes, he was with an 899 save percentage. So he's done it before, as weird as that is to think about.
This team
feels like a long time ago.
This team, these goaltenders, just get anywhere close to 900 and you're going to lead the team. Ugh. All right. Last one that I think really works for this, and that is quality start percentage. Again, not going to go with just quality starts because, it's going to go to the guy who gets the most opportunity most likely, although last year that wasn't the case. Grubauer was able to do it. A quality start, RJ, well, first off, you want to explain what a quality start is, RJ?
Yes, I was about to kind of cut you off there and say, let's explain what a quality start is. So quality start is based off of a stat called goals saved above expected. And so without getting the weeds too much, it looks at each shot basically has a level of expected goals based on a number of factors like location, shot type, sometimes players shooting at all of that. And so you have a certain amount of expected goals that a goalie will face over the course of a game of all the shots that they face. And then you have the number of actual goals that they allow in a game. And so you compare those two numbers. Say a goalie faces 3 expected goals, the amount of goals that they would be expected to give up based on the shot quality in that game that they have faced. And then they allow 2 actual goals. They allow 2 goals in the game. So they would have a goal saved above expected of 1. So they would have saved 1 goal above the expected amount that they were basically expected to allow. And so that would qualify as a quality start. So a quality start is when you have a positive goals saved above expected, and a not quality start is when it would be below. The goals saved above expected would be sorry, yeah, all right, let me make this clear. So it's basically when that number is lower. It's intuitive. You can kind of figure it out, hopefully. Before I just get tongue tied and lost on my words here. But anyway, that's quality start. And so quality start percentage is the percentage of your starts that are quality starts. So percentage of total starts that are quality starts.
You did better than you were supposed to. That's basically it.
So can't say that about my explanation, but
it's fine. So last year Philip Grubauer really took this one. I mean, he led the team in quality starts. The quality start percentage for him, 611 according to Hockey Reference. Martin Jones in second place at 476. Does Philip Grubauer keep that crown, RJ?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does keep that crown. And this does take into account more than maybe just a save percentage, goals against average. It does put shot quality as a factor, and I think that's something certainly last season that really showed the difference, where you look at Martin Jones, a much better win-loss record, but he had a lot of goal support going for him. I know for stretches of the season, he was top 2 in the NHL in goal support. Just the Kraken were scoring 5, 6, 7 goals, it seemed like, every time he was in net. And that doesn't really get, captured by quality start percentage. Whereas Grubauer, I mean, he was among the lowest in the league as far as goal support. It just felt like he couldn't get any help from his offense. And I don't know if that trend is going to continue next season, but I know when there's a lot of shot quality, he tends to do pretty well and keep his team in games, even if he doesn't get the win, even if that save percentage looks bad. There are just a lot of high quality chances against him. So I'm going to take him as the leader.
All right. Chris Driedger for me. This is where I think Chris Driedger comes in. Look, Joey kind of gets burned sometimes by the shot quality thing. I still think that there's some issues with him making saves up high at the NHL level. That happens a little bit more. He gets sheltered from that specifically at the lower levels, like in Coachella. I think Joey's going to struggle with that a little bit, at least early on in the season. I'm sure, also last year he made, 4 starts, but they were all spread out all over the place. If he's able to make some starts in a row, obviously he's going to be able to turn out better performances. But I just think Chris Driedger is this kind of guy, right? Isn't he, RJ? Just come in, play like 8 games this season and just get 5 quality starts out of it and just look fantastic for that little bit of stretch.
I could see it, and that's why I was tempted to pick him with the goals against average, or at least one of these stats, right? Having Chris Driedger somewhere on this board, because I do think he's going to play at least 1 game for the Kraken this season. Most teams don't just have the 2 goalies play for them all year. Something happens in the crease usually. We've seen that for the Kraken each of the last 2 seasons. I think Driedger will get some starts, and I like his odds if he does. I think he's going to be motivated to show what he can do, and I think he really does have that talent as soon as the opportunity arises.
Yeah, definitely. So there we go. That's really it. I mean, is there a special goaltending stat you want to include, RJ?
Let's see. This is what I'm looking at next to quality start percentage. Really bad starts with a save percentage below 85%. I'm gonna shy away from that stat. Yeah, Kraken had a team total of 25 last season. No. Let's hope that number decreases. So let's not look at that. Let's not end on that note.
Okay, looking literally anywhere else then, RJ. We talked about a lot of the team stats and stuff last year. All right, this is the last place. Shootout results, RJ. All right, the Kraken.
I love this.
The Kraken
this
had
is great.
count them, one shootout goal all of last season. It was Jordan Eberle.
Right, so
he went
saying...
1 for 4, shot 25% on the season. RJ, the Kraken are going to have at least 2 shootout goals this upcoming season. I feel very confident in saying that. All right? One will be Jordan Eberle.
Safe.
One will be Jordan Eberle. I feel pretty confident in saying that he's good for 1 a year. Who's going to score the other one?
You know what? I am so tempted to go Will Borgen here because I know he would be a shootout ace. But no, I'm not going to say him because I know he'll never get the chance.
He needs the chance, yep.
Yeah, I mean, heck, Adam Larson, I think, would score. You know, you saw what he was able to do on a breakaway late last season.
Yep.
Lars himself said he should be a shootout option. But he's like, I don't think Hack would agree with that. We asked Hack. He said, no, I don't think so. So I don't think he's going to start giving shootout attempts to his defensemen there, even if they produce results.
Right.
I will stay on the Will Borgen for shootout train. But, you know, until that becomes the case, look, they lost a lot of their main shooter, Ryan Donato, Daniel Sprong.
Yeah, those are the other guys with multiple attempts, you know, besides Jordan Eberle.
You're going to have to find different shooters. And I'm kind of racking my brain going through all the practice shootout attempts that I saw. And, you know, I'm going to go with Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Okay.
Because I think he actually has a chance of being named a shooter there. He's going to be in that conversation. Hackstall won't think it's too crazy or ridiculous of an idea to have Oliver Bjorkstrand shoot. And I like the moves that I saw from him. So let's go with Bjorky.
I do like that pick. I like that pick a lot. I'm trying to decide right now between 2 names, RJ. One being Matthew Beniers, as Hockey Reference calls him. Matty Beniers, you know, I just think as his career continues to grow, he's going to get more and more opportunities to showcase more and more. I think this upcoming season we'll see him get a shootout attempt or 2. But the other one has kind of been the dark horse of the day, and that's Andre Burakovsky. Right? He's a guy, he's got skill, he's got moves. He seems like someone that now that Hackstall is going to need to fill out, you know, who his shootout shooters are going to be. I got to think his name is going to be close to top of that list.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I certainly think he'll get the attempts. I mean, you look at when the Kraken's shootouts happened, and I think you only had one of them happen before Burakovsky's season-ending injury. So he didn't really have a lot of chances. He didn't take a shootout attempt last season. I'm just like, how is that possible? Like, how, given their failures in the shootout, why didn't you give him a chance? But no, I mean, there's only one shootout that he could have possibly been in, and it was their first shootout of the season. So you don't really know that right away. Is that correct? I'm looking at the team game log here. I only see one.
Go for it. No, go for it.
Well, I see the one shootout against Vancouver, December 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the next one is January 21st. And isn't that after? Oh, no, that's not. That's before the All-Star break. Yeah. That's before he was injured. So there's 2 shootouts.
Yeah. I was just looking to see if there was like on Hockey Reference, if they had like players' career shootout like log or percentage, and it doesn't appear so, at least not like super easy to grab here. So that's a little unfortunate because I just wanted to see like what he, you know, maybe he has been throughout his career in a shootout. So, you know, Hockey Reference, there you go. Suggestion. Add that.
You know, knowing them, they probably have it somewhere. We just haven't found it.
Yeah. But, you know, it is one of those, because I was looking, he had to have taken a shot at some point, but then I was thinking about it. I mean, on Washington, he wouldn't be the first guy or second or even third guy called upon, and in Colorado, that wouldn't be the case either. It's entirely possible Andre Burakovsky just hasn't had that much experience in shootouts just because he's been on teams that haven't needed him.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, I know the NHL has their long version of like everyone who's ever taken a shootout attempt. I don't think I could find him quickly enough, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, so there you go. There's our picks for the shootout leaders, tied with Jordan Everly for the upcoming season, and all of our picks to lead the Seattle Kraken next season in all of the individual stat categories. As always, please let us know your thoughts on who you think are going to lead any of these categories. If you think we forgot somebody as a dark horse, or you want to make your case for somebody, please let us know in the YouTube comment section if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening anywhere else, you can go to YouTube and leave the comment, or you can reach us on Twitter at Emerald City HKY, Instagram, same place. Come at us, and then of course on the Discord as well. We usually get some good comments after each deep dive over on there. And then that's gonna do us for this episode 100, RJ.
Yeah, the 100th episode, Unspectacular.
Yep.
Hopefully you enjoyed listening to it. Middle of August, dog days of August. I assume we can't get Afra up here for the dog days of August. She's sleeping?
She's sleeping. When she saw me lean back, she peeked open one eye and then closed it, so probably not.
All right, well, that's the sign then. Yeah, no need to get her up here. But thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you again next week for another Way Too Early.
Hey everyone, before we go, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey, especially our Terror of the Deep patrons: Absurdly Sane, Alex, Andrew, Anonymous, Ben, Brad, Burnt Creme, Kaylin, Chris, Cody, Connor, Coop, Daryl, Denise, DJ Singletone, Duthin, Eli, Elizabeth, Evan, Habak, Gaby, Gary, Gregory, Harry Legionary, Jay, Jane, Jeremy, Jessica, Joni, Joseph, Josh, Joshua, Katie, Keegan, Kepler, Kitty B. Kraken,
Leanne, Light, Lonnie, Mark, Maya, Michael, Michelle, Noah, Nori, Nunya, Paige, Paul, Rayanne, Rebecca, Ryan, Sarah, Scott, C.A. Kraken, Sean B., Sean O., Sergey, Shannon, Shoeshine, Skeletal Tendency, Steve, Steven, Striatic, Pasty Kobold, Team YMIAT, Tank Commander Ty, Wendy, Strife, and Zane. Thank you so much for making all this possible. We really appreciate your support.